up guys, Pratima here. So this is Samsung's new Galaxy A17 5G and it's the follow-up to one of the best-selling phones of the first quarter of 2025, the Galaxy A16 5G, which was the follow-up to one of the best-selling phones of the year before, the A15 5G, and so on. It's coming to India pretty soon as well, and as per the rumors, the Galaxy A17 5G will cost around 19,000 rupees for the base model. But what's interesting is that Samsung is apparently including a 25-watt power brick inside the box this time, which is honestly such a genius move because one of the main reasons why Samsung's entry-level A-series phones sell so freaking much is that these are mostly offline-centric phones. And having to go to some other store, spend some extra money on something as basic as a charger is just not a convenient offline shopping experience. So yeah, this is absolutely a great decision from Samsung. The Galaxy A17 5G also brings a couple of upgrades elsewhere, like with its build quality, since Samsung finally went with a glass sandwich design for its most popular budget phone. That means the Galaxy A17 ends up feeling much more premium to hold than what you typically expect from a phone in this very price segment. Its display even upgrades to Corning's Gorilla Glass Victus for protection against scratches or accidental drops, so I definitely appreciate all the reassurances that Samsung has thrown my way in terms of the design. Although I wish the Galaxy A17 had better ingress protection than the basic IP54 dust and splash resistance, because the way some Chinese brands have so aggressively pushed flagship level IP68 and IP69 rating on their budget phones is something Samsung desperately needs to catch up to. And one interesting thing I've noticed about the Galaxy A17 is that it's slimmer and lighter than the Galaxy A16. Its fingerprint reader is also placed exactly where my thumb naturally goes to rest. So as far as the design and the build quality are concerned, I'd be more than happy to give it a solid A-. Oh, and in case you hadn't noticed, its camera island is also similar to what we saw on a bunch of other Galaxy A-series phones in 2025. Okay, so while the Galaxy A17 obviously punches above its weight with the design, it's actually the exact opposite when you look at the display, because other than that Victus glass thing I mentioned before, Samsung did not bother to bring any other upgrade this time. It's got the same teardrop notch, the same ungodly amount of bezels, and the same 90Hz refresh rate, and therefore the same disappointed look on my face. Even the brightness level stays the same at around 800 nits, so every time I was outdoors on a sunny day, I had to squint my eyes and do this with my hand to be somewhat able to see what was going on. Now, since this is a Samsung-made OLED display, I've got no complaints with its colors, its contrast, viewing angles, and all that stuff. But put it next to other phones under 20,000 rupees and the Galaxy A17's display clearly manages to stand out, and not in a good way. You would also think that Samsung would have thought about a nice multimedia experience on this budget phone, but no, the Galaxy A17 has no HDR certification at all, and more importantly, Samsung still thinks budget phones don't deserve the warm love of stereo speakers. And as always, performance continues to be the kryptonite for Samsung's budget phones. So the Galaxy A17 is now powered by the Exynos 1330. Yes, the same Exynos 1330 as the almost 3-year-old Galaxy A14. And I think you can already guess how my experience was daily driving this thing. Casual everyday work and some light multitasking were definitely not a problem, but the Exynos chip always felt like it was struggling to keep up, and yes, dialing down the animation helped a little, but not too much. The Exynos 1330 is clearly not that powerful or optimized enough for prime time, so gamers should definitely stay away from the Galaxy A17. It only manages 30 FPS in Battle Royale games like PUBG, and while it can hit around 90 FPS in MOBAs like Mobile Legends, but the consistent frame drops and stutters ruin the overall experience. The only saving grace about the performance is Samsung's brilliant software. I think you've heard me say how the One UI 7 is my favorite Android skin a bunch of times, and yeah, that is easily one of the highlights of the Galaxy A17. It's so well designed and so intuitive that I feel like anyone can just pick up the phone and get going right away. And it also has 6 years of OS and security updates in the bank, which is even better than what you find on flagship phones of most other brands actually. But let's be honest, Android 23 update on the Galaxy A17 will be like having a Porsche 911 sports car with a Honda CR-V engine. But even so, that sounds okay, although there is one big issue with the One UI 7 on Samsung's budget phones that I haven't seen many people talk about. It's a little pre-installed adware called App Cloud. This app itself has a sketchy origin since it's developed by an Israeli company that is known for its advertisement and surveillance tech. It also weirdly needs my gender information before getting started. All the apps it recommends to me are something that I already find in the Play Store or Samsung's own Galaxy Store, and from what I can tell, there is no way to uninstall it either. Alright, I want to talk about the cameras next, and for the most part, Samsung has pretty much copy-pasted the cameras from its Galaxy A16 here. The only difference is that its 50 megapixel main sensor is now optically stabilized, and that is it. The Galaxy A17 still brings a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera that can take decent photos when you're somewhere with a ton of ambient light, but don't go around zooming in for details. And watch out for the lens distortion around the edges too. And completing its triple camera setup is a useless 2 megapixel macro shooter, which means that the 50 megapixel main sensor is doing all the heavy lifting here. And I think this is probably the most optimized main camera on a budget phone right now. The photos it takes are just so nice to look at, with the right balance of colors, contrast, dynamic range, and details. Even when I took it out on a gloomy day with dark clouds in the sky, I returned home with a bunch of great photos from the Galaxy A17, which is something I honestly was not expecting from a budget phone. And since it now has OIS, I am clearly noticing how sharp most of my shots are as well. Just don't expect it to take perfectly in-focus photos of your furry friends, and I think you're gonna love the Galaxy A17's main camera. In fact, its low-light shots are great too, with night mode often doing a good job at managing highlights or controlling exposure level as necessary. For what it's worth, it also shoots nice-looking portraits. I wish Samsung had allowed 2x zoom for portraits, but even without it, the Galaxy A17 does a great job with skin tones and texture. They look natural and not very overly processed, and the same goes for the selfies as well. The only complaint I have is that the A17's photos can sometimes turn out to be a little hazy with a bluish tint, so that's something Samsung needs to work on with an update or two. But even though the photography side of things is pretty impressive on the Galaxy A17, I can't say the same about its videos. It can only shoot up to 1080p 30fps videos, and although Samsung has used some of its EIS magic to stabilize the footage as much as it can, the quality, the details are just not there. Alright, that brings me to the end of this video, and oh wait, I think I forgot to talk about its battery life. So the Galaxy A17 has the same 5000 mAh battery as most Samsung phones, and on moderate to heavy usage with some gaming and camera use also into the mix, I have been getting like 7 hours of screen on time on this guy. Its a 25-watt charger can take this phone from 0 to 100% in about an hour and a half. So with all that said, I feel like the Galaxy A17 would still rank somewhere near the bottom of the list if we're talking about the best phones under 20,000 rupees in India. Yeah, it definitely has some positives like a premium design and exceptional primary camera, decent battery life, and the software experience with 6 years of OS updates that no other brand even comes close. But looking at the overall package, you're definitely paying more for that Samsung brand value than what it's really worth. And whether you want something with better performance, better cameras, or better multimedia experience, I can point you to a bunch of other phones that do a much better job than this thing. But the sad thing is, at the end of the day, my review of the Galaxy A17 that you are seeing on an online platform simply does not matter. It's an offline-centric product, and as I mentioned before, with Samsung's massive retail presence and all the public trust that it has gained over the years, I am sure this is going to end up selling like hotcakes as well, and I really won't be surprised if the Galaxy A17 ends up in the top 10 best-selling phones of 2025 list. Alright everyone, that was all for our really honest review of the Samsung Galaxy A17 5G. What do you think about the device? Do let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notifications icon. Saying this, I'm Pratima, and thank you so much for watching.